Thank you everyone for attending today's Prospect Ridge Resources Investor Townhall Event. In early 2025, then CEO Mike Iverson initiated changes to the company's management and exploration approach, transitioning from an in-house exploration team to an exclusive arrangement with Equity Exploration Consultants, Inc., a reputable and experienced Vancouver-based mineral exploration consultancy team. This arrangement gave the company immediate access to a highly experienced exploration team. Shortly afterwards, in March 2025, Len Brownlie, with extensive experience and success in the mining industry, was appointed as CEO, while Mike Iverson became chairman. In this small cap interviews Investor Townhall event, CEO Len Brownlie and Chairman Mike Iverson will outline their strategy to scale Prospect Ridge Resources in their recent acquisitions, acquiring advanced undervalued copper-gold porphyry targets in British Columbia. They will also be available to answer many of your submitted questions that shareholders may have. Take it away, Len.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just bring up the presentation and hopefully everyone can see that. We'll go through that quickly. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending. I'm Len Brownlie, President and CEO of Prospect Ridge. We've got Mike Iverson here as well. First thing we'd like to do is bring you up to date on Prospect Ridge. And before I even begin, I'd like to say something in regards to the quality of this company. In my 43 years of managing junior exploration companies, I really was impressed with this company, and that's why I joined it. I think the jurisdiction is terrific. It has money in the bank and good financial support from its shareholders. It has some very good quality targets now. Equity is an excellent exploration team and allows us to do a lot more than we could with an in-house exploration team. And I really think this is one of the best junior exploration companies and opportunities you'll find in the junior markets today. So here's our corporate presentation. I will be mentioning some forward-looking information. I'm only going to show this for a few seconds because this presentation is on our website and you're more than welcome to review it there. But I will be speaking and talking about some anticipation and forward-looking information, so please do your own due diligence. The first thing I'd like to talk about is our team. Mike Iverson is the chairman, former CEO. He's moved back to being chairman, but he's still very intimately involved with the company on a daily basis. And he has a very good background in mining. Mike, I'm going to let you talk about that yourself if you can.
Yeah, well, I mean, I spent the last 30 years with building Now Gold Mining Corporation and Fortuna Silver. I built them side by side with a lot of help and a lot of people that are still with me and with us in Prospect Ridge. I would say the success is because we stayed true and we stayed on target. Even when in bad times we stayed true to what our journey was, and which we are doing the same thing here with Prospect Ridge. We had a little bit of a hiccup. I realized that in late 2024 and decided that I was going to change the team 100%. And I knew of Len. Him and I were together on another public company. We worked very well together, and it has worked very well to this stage. So I'm looking forward to the next few years to see where we're going. But we have a team that knows what it's like to be on the downside and knows how hard it takes and what it takes to fight to get on the top side. And we're here to do the job.
Thank you, Mike. Myself, Len Brownlie here. I've been involved with a whole host of publicly traded mining companies in a management position over the last 43 years. Most notably Goldrush Resources, which at one point had the largest land position in Burkina Faso, West Africa. When we arrived in 2006, there was one operating mine in the country. When we left, there were about 15. We ran into a hiccup in 2008 after making a gold discovery, and we ended up having to sell the deposit in 2014 to a Russian company. and we're kind of fortunate to get out of Burkina at that point because it politically devolved into essentially chaos subsequently. And we were able to then merge with Keith Neumeyer's First Mining Gold Corp. And at that point, our new director, Pat Donnelly, who has an extreme large range of experience in mining. He's been a geologist, analyst for a brokerage house. He's been in corporate development and investor relations. He has an MBA and has managed and run several public companies. Most notably, he's now with Alaska Silver, but he was one of the founders of First Mining Gold, and that's where I met him. And during his time with First Mining, he negotiated and completed 8 merger and acquisition transactions and moved the market cap of First Mining from 30 to 600 million. So that's the rest of the team are all very astute and have been with Mike for a long time. So in terms of capital structure, we currently have about 83.6 million shares out. We have about 7% insider participation at this point. However, Mike has an incredible following. And Mike, what do you think the overall ownership of your friends, family, and associates would be of the total shares outstanding?
I would think 50%, over 40 million.
Yeah. So
and these fellows, some of these people have been with me for 30 years, all the way through with Knauss Gold Mining Corp and Fortuna Silver. They stuck through, like I say, they stuck through thick and thin, and they're here to do the same thing. So
yeah. Now, and one of the things I liked about this company when I joined was that it had money in the bank. Money was raised last year in a pretty tough market. Some of it was spent on a drill program that we'll talk about in a minute. But at the end of August, we had about 2.3 million in the Treasury. Currently, we have about 1.6 because we've paid the exploration expenses for 3 of the 4 projects that I'll talk about. So project-wise, the historic projects of the company are Knauss Creek and Holy Grail. They're of large size. Knauss Creek about 30 square kilometers, Holy Grail about almost 600, and they're 100% owned by Prospect Ridge. Now, in 2024, a very juicy looking drill target was identified, an alpine situation, a large vein structure, copper gold vein structure called Copper Ridge, and that was drilled. Unfortunately, the grades that were seen on surface did not continue at depth. In retrospect, probably should have been a induced polarization survey done, but it was such a juicy target, the team at that time decided to go for it. Subsequently, we've brought equity exploration consultants in. This summer, they did a 35-day program of regional mapping, ground truthing, checking prior samples, and we'll have some results from them in the very near future. What I can tell you is that they're excited about a trend that runs from Copper Ridge down to the J veins and the Doreen mine. They feel there's a major regional structure there. There had to be a big system that provided the high-grade mineralization that they're seeing. So for next year, we're looking at probably an IP survey over regions of that structure to identify potential drill targets. So I'm going to skip through a little bit here, but I think it's worth talking about equity exploration consultants. They do over $45 million in annual exploration expenditures for junior and major mining companies in Western Canada. They have between 80 and 100 geologists on staff, several PhDs. And so when we need real high-level expertise to solve a question, we've got that backup. And they have just been fantastic partners to us and have really sort of freed up our time to be more strategic in what we do rather than managing the day-to-day of a exploration program. And as I mentioned with Knauss Creek, we've completed a program at the end of August or beginning of September, I guess we finished up, and we're now waiting for final assay results and interpretations. But there is an interesting structure there, and it will have to be followed up. Now, when I came to the company, one of the mandates was to find some new projects to look on as well. And what I suggested, and this came from friends of mine who are lifelong geologists, and they said, well, you know, most mines in BC are copper gold porphyries. They have the size and the grades to make them economic. And so I went to Henry Aumack and David Caulfield, who I'll mention more in a minute, and they had acquired a number of projects over 10 years after they had retired from Equity, actually, as founders of Equity. And they carefully curated these, brought them to a level of exploration where they were near drill ready or needed one more program to be drill ready. And so that's kind of what we went after as projects that we wanted to put into Prospect Ridge. And I'll go through those projects individually here in a moment. So the concept is that the future of mining in BC will be the discovery of buried porphyries. Everything that's been found so far was exposed on surface. What we need to do now is look just under the surface. And the I love this quote from The Economist, where from July of 2025, where they said at least 80% of the world's valuable resources show no sign of existence above ground, yet some 85% of operating mines were dug as a result of surface observations. So clearly the next phase of extraction of minerals will come from gently buried porphyries and gently buried deposits that aren't showing on the surface. And for those, you need to use a lot more geophysical techniques than surface prospecting. So what are our new projects and where are they located? You know, historically, everyone considered the Golden Triangle of Northwest BC as being a very fertile ground for economic discoveries. And I think only in the last 2 years has it been realized that the same band of very prospective rocks actually dips around, and so you have a golden horseshoe. It's not just the Golden Triangle. On the east side of that, of those Bowser rocks, is the Toodoggone region, and that is probably the hottest exploration camp in Canada right now, with some major discoveries by AMARC recently and also TDG Gold. So our existing project, Holy Grail and Knauss Creek, just north of Terrace, is a little bit south of the known Golden Triangle, and one of the thesis and hypothesis is whether some of the favorable rocks extend all the way down to Holy Grail and Knauss Creek. The projects we picked up are Castle, which is up above the Lawyers deposit of Thesis Gold, and then further south of that is Excalibur, and then way down in a different region, more of the Caribou, is the Camelot project, lower right corner of your screen to the southeast. I'll go through each one in detail, but Castle is a world-class gold copper porphyry target, and it is a very interesting project. Excalibur is a little more of a known issue in terms of being a Babine-style porphyry, fairly close to past producing mines such as Bell and Grand Isle, and in between two recent porphyry discoveries, Jacob and Maestro, that were found by Quartz Mountain. And then Camelot is a drill-ready project that we anticipate drilling here in the near future. In fact, we've just returned from a field visit to the property to spot drill holes. So we're hoping to drill that in the very near future, like by the end of the month, and we're really excited by what we found. So I want to step back a little bit and talk to you about our vendors and our advisors. Henry Aumack, Dave Caulfield were both co-founders of Equity Exploration, and you know what they said to us is and I've known these guys for 35 years, I think. They said, you know, all the time they were working for other companies as exploration consultants, they couldn't take on projects themselves. When they retired, they looked at stuff and said, what did big companies want? What did they find in junior companies or for junior companies that then became economic? And they said, darn, buried porphyries, porphyry targets, best chance of becoming a mine. Now, Henry's a particular record of exploration success. Originally, he was part of the discovery team for the Cobre Panama copper mine in Panama. He helped discover the Wolverine VMS mine, the Axe project he identified, which was later sold to Kodiak Copper, and the Highway 37 project, which we used to know as Ball Creek, is now being worked on by Kingfisher Metals. Henry is retired, but he is still incredibly active in terms of identifying projects. Dave Caulfield, our other major vendor, was another co-founder of Equity Exploration. He was a co-founder of Rimfire, the director of Origin Royalties, and he also was one of the founders of C3 Alliance, which is a private consulting firm which assists in First Nations engagement. He's also served as the president of the Association for Mineral Exploration of BC and played a key role in the creation of Geoscience BC. And these guys are not only vendors, they've also come in as advisors to the company. And in addition, have come to me and said, hey, if you're ever raising any money, we'd like to put some in. So they're really committed to Prospect Ridge, and they're just a real asset for us. Now, the third project I mentioned originally, the fourth project I mentioned initially was Camelot. You can see here its location. It's about 33 kilometers from Imperial Metals Mount Poly mine, and about 13 kilometers northeast of the Woodjam cluster of Vizsla Copper. It has an extensive road network. It's at low elevation. Our target here is a coincident IP soil and mag anomaly. It has cost us $200,000 in shares and a 1.5% royalty to acquire this. We do need to drill it in the next few months, and that is our intention. Here's the main target, and you can see it's about 500 by 1,700 meters. Historically, there was one or two drill holes popped outside of the main IP anomaly before the IP was done. The best historic drill hole was drilled in 1974 as a percussion hole by Hudson Bay Mining. And they didn't assay it for gold, but it came back with 21 meters of 0.25% copper. So we know that there's copper in the region, but there's never been a drill hole punched in the primary target areas where there's coincident mag and IP. So we're planning to do up to 2,000 meters. It says here Q3, Q4. It'll probably be the end of October. When we get the drill rig turning. We're just at the point of getting the bids back from drilling companies. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we're just back from spotting some drill holes there. So very excited about what this could mean. Excalibur, as I mentioned, is of a bean-style porphyry. It has fantastic road access from Smithers on some really nice gravel roads. And there's 3 open pit mines that were within 200 kilometers of it. There's a couple of past producing mines within 80 kilometers. It has power and CN rail not that far away. And it really exhibits multiple vectors. There's alteration, geochemical, geophysical, and also size for a large-scale porphyry deposit. As we speak, Equity and Simcoe Geophysics are just finishing up a 20-kilometer, line-kilometer IP survey on Excalibur. And this diagram here, you can more or less see where there's this blue line shows the target outlay. We'd like to be more precise in terms of where we put a drill next year. And so that's the reason to do an updated IP survey. There was one done back in the late 90s, but it lacked a sufficient resolution and also was not plotted before GPS was common. So we weren't 100% sure if they were 100 meters off, perhaps, in some of their coordinates. So that was the reason to go back in and do another IP survey. But there's soil sampling, there's mag targets, there's a nice big pyrite halo up at the on the south side, which is something called French Peak. and barren, but it's certainly a marker of a porphyry system. And you can see some of the values, copper values, soil values are reasonable. Very recently, in preparing for the IP survey, there was some ground truthing that went on, some prospecting, and we've come up with a second target area a little bit to the east as well. It's not shown on this diagram, but yeah, it is covered by the new IP survey. Castle is this really interesting project in the North Tutagon, and there's a very interesting unexplained gold copper soil geochem anomaly, which isn't showing in the rocks. And when Henry and David went through the data on this thing, they realized that it has tremendous similarities to something called Cadia, which is one of the largest gold-rich porphyry districts in the world. So the target there is world-class. It is somewhat remote, and that you have to helicopter from around the Sun Summit Theory project there in that area, or further south at the Sturdy airstrip to get into the project. But it has world-class potential. And this summer we did an IP survey, and we're waiting for the results of that survey. With that knowledge, and we've just completed a mag survey there as well. With those results, we hope to be able to define drill targets for the next season here in 2026. So I won't go into this diagram in any detail. The red star is where we think we're at in the Castle project, and the rest of it is sort of where the Cadia project deposit lies. And so we really think we're at the top of a uneroded lithocap, and that somewhere down below us, 100 to 200 meters, will be the juiciest bits of this potential deposit. So acquisition terms altogether, between Castle, Excalibur, and Camelot, it's going to take us $318,000 in cash and 3.25 million shares to acquire all three projects. And that's over 5 years in total. So if we have any success anywhere, we absolutely will take all that out and accelerate the payments, etc. So we own 100% of all of those projects. Now, this is sort of an overview of what we did this summer and what we anticipate doing. These projects very quickly will all be completed, aside from the Camelot drilling, which will just be starting up at the end of the month. So we're looking at about a $2 million exploration spend this year. And as we go into 2026, if the targets come back as we anticipate they will, we could be looking at up to $8.5 million in drilling for 2026. This table, unfortunately, is a little bit outdated in that we haven't moved very much, but these other guys have all moved up. And so I think there's a tremendous opportunity here, given the work that we've done, the results that we'll come up with, and the potential we have going forward. And here you can see where we're at. We're basically on time on our timeline, with drilling in Camelot now kicking in. Will probably end by the end of November, is our hope. Thereafter, we'll be compiling and releasing results. And by the time VRIC comes along at the end of January, we should be in a position to announce everything, and we'll be looking to raise some of that money for drilling. And I should say that we've had overtures and expressions of interest to raise us money right now, and we're considering those right now. And then I think 2026 is going to be very exciting, because we intend to drill and drill and drill. So why invest in Prospect Ridge? I think there's four very good projects here with world-class potential. These weren't something that somebody came up with overnight. Henry and David spent years putting these together, and they've done enough background work, and then with the work we've done this summer, we should have some very good drill targets. Now, yeah, and the next point again, we anticipate a big news flow, and we anticipate drill results from Camelot, and you know, I don't think you could have a better speculative bet on an exploration company than what you're seeing here. So the saying is, fortune befriends the bold. Thank you very much for listening to the presentation, and we can now take some questions. Unfortunately, we may not have time to take them all, but we'll try to get back to each one individually if we're unable to answer your question in this forum.
Hi, Len, Mike. I've rounded up some of these questions here, so we'll start. Give me a second here. The first one, does the company own 100% of its projects?
I guess I'll take that on. Yeah, out of the projects we have, the terrace projects, Knauss Creek and Holy Grail, we own 100%. And on the other ones, as I mentioned in the presentation, the commitments we've met all the exploration commitments, or will have met all the exploration commitments by the end of this year. And then over 5 years, we'll owe a total of $318,000 in option payments and 3.25 million shares. And if we have any success whatsoever, we can accelerate those payments, and we'll probably be 100% owners within a year.
Is there political or developmental risks like environmental?
We're not aware of any environmental risks at this point in time. One of the key things in BC is to have adequate and better than adequate First Nations consultation, and we're utilizing C3 to assist us in that process. And I think it's worth pointing out that Equity has worked for 38 years in BC, and they're very adept at making sure that there are no environmental liabilities in any of the work that they do. At Castle, for example, we hauled out everything after we had a fly camp there for 10 days, and it's impossible to know that anyone was there aside from the grass was flattened in one meadow.
Next question. What work payments are required to maintain ownership of the resource?
Well, by the end of this year, we'll have exceeded the 5-year minimum requirement that was specified in some of the agreements. So we'll have more than 5 years of assessment on all the projects, with the exception of Holy Grail. It's an extremely large project, and we may want to reduce it somewhat to reduce the assessment requirements.
Next question, is there a strategic partner or investor?
We've had a lot of interest, and we have had a couple of presentations for and by strategic partners and 2 investors. I would say we're interested, we're talking to people, but we have nothing to report at this point.
Do insiders have a significant position? I think that was answered earlier, but you can answer it again.
Yeah, we have at least 7% insider participation. If you go on CDI, you can see that. And I think as Mike mentioned, they have really he has a large network, a large group of friends and family and investors who have supported him over the years. And it's actually quite impressive. I've been in a number of meetings with these guys, and they've known Mike for forever, and they back him 100%.
And next question, do the directors and management have a successful track record?
I could let Mike answer that, but I think it's almost self-explanatory. He's been very successful.
Yeah, I think our whole team has been pretty successful, and they work as a team. The directors work as a team with us. The company works as a team, as one. We move as one, and it makes everything easier with everybody. Everybody pulls their weight. Everything comes together much easier.
Next question, is the end game to become a producer or sale of the company? What's the...
Well, I I spent about 20 years hanging out with a guy named Jim O'Rourke, who was, I think, in the BC Mining Hall of Fame as a builder of mining companies and production companies. And what I learned from that was there's a completely different skill set that's involved in exploration versus production. And so I would say we'll find the mine, we'll let somebody else actually produce it. We want to be explorationists, not miners.
Okay, next question. How did insiders acquire their position and at what cost? Escrow shares, he put at the very end.
There are no escrow shares outstanding in the company. Insiders have generally acquired their position through either open market purchases. I've purchased 1 million shares in the last few months in the open market, and generally the directors themselves have been purchasing shares through private placements along with other investors. And the pricing will be at all over the place. We've supported
all levels. Yes,
yeah,
all levels.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. What does the current balance sheet look like?
We have about 1.6 million in cash with no debt at this point. We have the funds available to conduct the drill program that we're anticipating at Camelot. We have had a lot of interest in providing exploration funding, and we're considering that at the moment as well, primarily to preserve our hard dollars that are in the bank right now.
Okay. What are the gross expenditures over the next year, and what is the hope to be achieved with these funds?
Well, as I mentioned in the presentation, it's going to be heavily dependent on the results we see, but we've had no indications that they're contrary to the concept that we will be having defined drill targets on at least 4 projects or 3 projects, and then doing an IP survey at Knauss Creek. So I could anticipate drilling that would cost around $8.5 million next year in 2026. So that would be, yeah, that would be kind of all my Christmases at once. But yeah, if we can come up with $8.5 million, we can spend it. I think we have that quality of targets.
I think with the targets that we do have, I think we will be able to raise the money. It just takes a little hard work, but we do, like Lynn said, we have a lot of interest coming in right now, and they've been calling us, which is it's very pleasant to have someone calling us asking if we would like to take their money. So we shall see in the near future if that comes to fruition.
Okay. Is there analyst coverage?
At this point, no. But as the results come in from our 2025 exploration program, I think some analysts, at least in base metals and precious metals, will want to have a good look at us.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Len. Mike, that's all the time we have for questions, concluding our town hall webinar. If you'd like to learn more about Prospect Ridge Resources, you can visit their website at prospectridgeresources.com. Thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.